aeroplane. And here it is, the Douglas A26 Invader. They were deployed in numbers to post-war Germany among other locations, and then came Korea. Advisors flying with South Vietnamese pilots. Battle of Britain Day itself, and to experience very different fates. The starboard, that aircraft has the markings of the aeroplane flown by Flying Officer Fabio Schroppik. To the port side, the markings of the aircraft flown by Flying Officer Julian Samalski. Both are through the path and Part 2 on the 15th of September 1940. 8 Hawker Hurricanes.
Inside my machine from the burst petrol tank. I couldn't see much flame, but I reckon it was there all right. I remember looking once at my left hand, which was keeping us with curtains for the 3 junkers. I was right, and they were all shot down in quick time, with no pickings for us. I must confess I was very disappointed, for I had never fired at a Hun in my life and was longing to have a crack at them. So we swung round again and started to climb up to 18,000 feet over Southampton to rejoin our squadron. I was still alive. I heard 4 big bangs. They were the loudest noises I had ever heard, and they had been made by 4 cannon shells from Messerschmitt 110 hitting my machine. The first shell tore through the hood over my cockpit and sent splinters into my left eye. 1 splinter I discovered. The second cannon shell struck my spare petrol tank and set it on fire. The third shell crashed into the cockpit and tore off my right travel leg. The fourth shell struck the back of my left shoe. It shattered the heel of the shoe and made quite a mess of my left foot away to the right to avoid further shells. Then I started cursing myself for my carelessness. What a fool I'd been, I thought. What a fool. I was just thinking of jumping out when suddenly a Messerschmitt 110 whizzed underneath me and got right in my gun sight. Fortunately, no damage had been done to my windscreen in the bore sight, and when I was chasing the junkers, I had switched everything on, so everything was set for a fight. I pressed the gun button, for the Messerschmitt was in nice range. He was going like mad, twisting and turning as he tried to get away from my fire, so I pushed the throttle wide open. Both of us must have been doing about 400 as we went down together in the dive. First he turned left.
Low-level sorties, they could seek out enemy troop concentrations, they could spot for field artillery, they could provide close air support, and they, as the P40F. years ago. Much has been said about how the RAF was slow to see the entry into service of new monoplane fighters to replace its biplanes. The P40 had many other qualities that helped guarantee its lengthy success in service. It was very manoeuvrable, docile handling. As a gun platform, it was extremely stable, and it could withstand a good deal of battle damage. And when you look at the theatres in which P40s really excelled, you get to see why all of those attributes were so important. The RAF used them in large numbers in the Middle East and North Africa. In 1939, nearly 1,100 of them. Institut Géographique National for use on surveying and mapping flights until the early 1970s, and it was in 1975 that it came to Britain. Early on was that there were no escort fighters with sufficient range able to accompany them, but then the P47 and the P51 later began to take them. The mighty fighter, the Fury, the ball rolls out. 50 Squadron, which is still part of today's Belgian Air Force, was founded on the 12th of November 1941, followed shortly after by 349 Squadron, and they laid the foundation for the later Belgian Air Force as it was developed in the aftermath of World War II. 45, 752 Belgians served as aircrew in the RAF, of whom more than 620 flew combat 40s and 207 were killed in action. And if you add in the Belgian ground crew, who also served, the number who were part of the RAF in wartime rises to some 1,900. All Belgian pilots were awarded the distinguished. First off, we have the North American P51 Mustang. They moonbeam that flies from Warbird experiences at Biggin Hill. Then we have the Commonwealth P51 Mustang Mark 21 named Jersey Jerk from Ultimate Warbirds Flight, Spitfire Hurricane, and the Catalina P51 Mustang series named This Rebel from Blenheim and Squadron in Norway. And while the latter two hit together, in front of us is new beam at climb. P51s, all of them were named Jersey Jerk in honour of his home state. Identity or identities not known. Many of these Catalina Mustangs were made up of P51. What is known is that it arrived in El Salvador in 1968 and the following year flew in what became known as the Football War or the Soccer War. Swordfish trailing behind. CL-13B Sabre Mark 6 single engine jet. While unlike the Meteor, the Vampire never saw any wartime service, come peacetime, this aeroplane had a very important part to play in a number. And in comes the Sabre. Reaching 570 miles an hour. But when the communist side in the Korean War started operations with the Squadron Mikoyan MiG-15, that changed. Detachments were sent to Korea by the 4th Fighter Wing in 1950. If you look behind, we welcome the Avro Lancaster 1 of the Royal Air Force Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. 11 Group to patrol North Wales. It arrived late, having claimed 11 aircraft destroyed elsewhere, although Richard Jones, the number 19 Squadron Spitfire pilot, said, as a mere junior pilot officer sitting in his Spitfire, you looked around you and you saw 65 to 70 Spitfires and Hurricanes. It gave you terrific confidence. Now, here goes our 2025 big win of Spitfires and Hurricanes.
War by their prowess and by their devotion. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.